The world had changed. The first man had walked this earth, lived upon it, and finally returned to his Creator. With the passing of Adam alayhi salam, the earth did not fall silent, but it entered a new chapter. A chapter that humanity had never experienced before. For the first time in history, humans would live without the physical presence of the first prophet among them. The sun rose over mountains that seemed endless. Rivers carved their way through vast valleys. Forests stretched beyond sight, and scattered across this enormous world were small groups of people, the children of Adam. They were no longer just a single family gathered around their father. Now they were something else, something new, humanity. The beginning of the spread. One morning, a group of young men stood on the edge of a wide valley. Before them lay fertile land, green grass, flowing water, and open plains that seemed untouched. One of them, a strong young man named Harith, looked across the valley with determination. "We cannot all remain in the same place forever," he said quietly. Another man beside him frowned. "But this land, this is where our father lived. This is where we learned everything." Harith shook his head. "Our father taught us something greater than staying in one place." The others looked at him. "What do you mean?" one asked. Harith pointed toward the horizon. "He taught us to live upon the earth, not just one valley." Silence fell over the group. Slowly they understood. Humanity would have to spread. Families packed what little they had, tools made of stone, simple clothing, animals they had begun to herd. Mothers held their children close. Elders gave quiet advice, and slowly the children of Adam began walking. Some moved toward rivers where the soil was rich. Others climbed mountains searching for cooler lands. Some crossed forests so dense the sunlight barely touched the ground. Wherever they went, they carried the knowledge their father had taught them: how to grow food, how to care for animals, how to live with purpose. But as humanity grew, so did its challenges. The first signs of conflict. Years passed. In a fertile valley near a flowing river, two brothers stood facing each other in anger. Between them was a field of crops, tall golden plants swaying gently in the wind. "This land is mine," one brother said sharply. The other shook his head. "No, we agreed to divide it equally. You take the smaller side. My work made this field grow." The second brother clenched his fists. "You worked? We worked together." Voices rose. Nearby, children stopped playing. Women looked up from preparing food. An elder slowly approached the two men. His hair was gray, his voice calm. "Why do you argue?" he asked. Both brothers spoke at once. The elder listened quietly, then looked at the field. "This land feeds both of your families," he said. "Yes, but I deserve more." The elder sighed. "This is how jealousy begins." The brothers fell silent. The elder continued, "Our father warned us about pride. It destroys peace." The second brother lowered his gaze, but the first still looked stubborn. Slowly the elder turned and walked away. Behind him, the wind continued to move through the crops. Civilization was growing, but so were human weaknesses. Echoes of the first tragedy. Not far away, another moment was unfolding. A young boy stood quietly behind a tree, watching something he had never seen before. A group of elders had gathered around a lifeless body lying on the ground. The boy whispered to his mother, "Why doesn't he move?" His mother gently held his shoulder. "He has returned to Allah." The boy frowned. "But what happens now?" An elder stepped forward carrying a simple tool. Slowly, he began digging the ground. The boy watched closely. His eyes widened. "You are putting him in the earth?" The elder nodded. "Yes." "Why?" The elder paused.
His voice became softer. Long ago, when the first murder happened among us, humanity did not know what to do with the body. The boy leaned closer. What happened? The elder looked toward the sky as if remembering a distant moment. A crow showed the way. The boy's eyes widened even more. A bird? Yes, the elder continued digging, and since that day, we honor the dead by returning them to the earth. The boy stood quietly. For the first time in his young life, he understood something important. Life was precious, and taking it carried consequences. Building the first communities. Years turned into generations. Human groups no longer wandered aimlessly. They began to settle. Near rivers, families built simple homes made from wood, clay, and stone. Smoke rose from small fires. Children ran between huts laughing. Farmers worked fields from sunrise to sunset. One evening, an elder named Salman sat beside a fire while several young people gathered around him. One of them asked curiously, "How did our father Adam learn so many things?" Salman smiled. "Allah taught him." Another young man leaned forward. "And we must continue learning?" "Yes," Salman replied. He picked up a simple stone tool. This someone learned to shape. He pointed toward the fields, and farming, someone learned to grow food. Then he looked around at the group. Knowledge grows when we teach one another. A young girl raised her hand. "And language?" Salman chuckled. "Language grows every time we speak." The group laughed softly, but then Salman's voice became serious. "However, knowledge alone is not enough." The young listeners looked confused. "What do you mean?" someone asked. Salman looked into the flames. If knowledge is not guided by faith, it can become dangerous. The fire crackled. None of them fully understood what he meant, but in time they would. The quiet birth of idolatry. Far from that peaceful village, another group of people gathered near a large stone. It was unusually shaped, tall, smooth, and standing alone on a hill. One man approached it slowly. "This stone protected our village during the storm," he said. Another nodded. "Yes, the lightning struck nearby, but our homes survived." A third man whispered, "Perhaps this stone has power." The group murmured in agreement. Soon they began leaving small offerings near the rock. Food, flowers, objects. One young woman looked uneasy. "Should we do this?" she asked. Her brother shrugged. "It cannot hurt." Days turned into months. The stone became something more. People began speaking to it, asking it for protection, praying near it. Fear and imagination slowly turned an ordinary object into an idol. And with that simple mistake, a dangerous idea was born.
Warnings ignored. In another settlement, an elderly man named Karim had heard rumors. He sat beside several villagers. "They are worshiping stones now," someone said. Karim shook his head slowly. "Our father Adam warned us against this." Another man replied, "But people say the idols bring them luck." Karim's voice became firm. "Luck does not come from stone." The group fell silent. Karim continued, "When people forget the Creator, they begin worshiping creation." A young man looked worried. "What will happen if this continues?" Karim stared toward the horizon. "Then humanity will lose its way." The growing need for guidance. As decades passed, humanity multiplied across the earth. Villages turned into larger communities. Skills improved. Tools became stronger. Farming became more efficient. But morality was becoming uncertain. Some communities remained faithful to the teachings of Adam. Others began drifting away. Arguments became more frequent. Pride grew stronger, and idol worship slowly spread. One night, under a sky full of stars, a group of elders gathered beside a river. One of them spoke quietly. "People are forgetting." Another nodded. "They argue about power, land, and idols."
A third elder sighed. Humanity needs guidance again. The group looked at one another. Perhaps Allah will send another prophet. The river flowed silently beside them, as if waiting for the same answer. A child in the distance. Far away, in another settlement, a newborn child cried beneath the night sky. His mother gently held him close. His father whispered softly, "He will grow strong." The village elder looked at the child thoughtfully. Something about the moment felt important. No one could yet see the future, but this era, the era after Adam, was preparing humanity for something greater. A new messenger would one day rise, a man who would call people back to truth, a man who would face rejection, ridicule, and unimaginable trials. But he would never give up. His name would be remembered for thousands of years. Nuh. The earth had changed since the days of Adam. Humanity had spread across valleys, mountains, and rivers. They had built homes, formed families, created communities. They had learned many lessons, but they had also begun making dangerous mistakes. Pride, jealousy, and idol worship. The world was growing, but its soul needed guidance, and soon that guidance would arrive. Somewhere beneath the same sky that once watched Adam walk the earth, a new story was preparing to begin. A prophet would rise, a warning would be delivered, and humanity would face one of the greatest tests in its history. The story of patience, the story of faith, the story of a man who would preach for centuries, the story of Prophet Nuh. And that story was about to begin.